All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to this hearing of the Budget and Finance Committee for Monday, August 24th, 2015. I'm Paul Krikorian, Chair of the committee, and I'm joined by Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Englander, and Mr. Bonin. Members, we have three closed session items. It's my understanding from the city attorney that item number 1 we can continue. Is that correct? 2 weeks? 1 week? Okay. All right. Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler, I'm going to say this one time. You will not speak in an audible voice or make any other noise during the pendency of this hearing. If you do, even once, I'm going to ask that you be removed. All right, so we have items 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Members, those are items that I deem suitable for consent, but we have cards on them, so I'm going to hold those items.
4, 6, 7, 8, and 9?
Yeah. Item 5 is a regular agenda item. I think what I'd like to do is go ahead and take the closed session items first, if I may. So let's go ahead and finish those up first. So do we have cards on any of the
Mr. Chair, we have cards on those items as well.
Okay, I'll take cards on items 2 and 3, please. Okay, we'll come back to this. All right, Mr. Herman, you can be heard on items 2 and 3.
Only 1 minute per item?
Or 2 minutes on both. It's your call. You can mix it up however you'd like.
I'll do 1 minute on both. On item number 2, I oppose. Only because, again, the Griffith Charitable Trust is not for the city of Los Angeles to basically separate Proposition K. Get it? Vote no for Mitch Englander. And then on item number 3, regarding the motorcycle accident, the cause of many of our accidents are because many times people like Paul Krikorian and Mitch Englander allow people to get alcohol permits for convenience and necessity. So within 1 minute, you see, there's not much to talk about. It's the same bullshit. Stop permitting alcohol sales. Mike Fuhr, investigate why Englander, who's running for city council and running is running against.
That has nothing to
1
do
minute.
with the topic.
Thank you.
Okay, you're done. All right. Mr. Spindler, items 2 and 3, please.
Yes, I appreciate so much time being given on all these items. I don't know how I'm going to use all the time. So we have some lucky winners of the Los Angeles lottery, which is these people who get attorney's fees and costs. Now, the reason they get these attorney's fees and costs is because we have amateurs and schmucks running and representing this municipality, and they're a bunch of goats. And that's why they don't understand the law, they don't understand the Constitution, and they don't understand the Charter. So you get outside counsel, and now you got to do an award of attorney's fees and costs because you fucked the lawsuit up. If you would have done your job, you would have had a dismissal. So you have to pay these people. And the Griffith family, you keep screwing with the Griffith family, my dream is going to come true when they revoke the trust and take back the entire park away from this vicious mafia-run city.
All right. That closes public comment on items 2 and 3, so we can consider those items now in closed session. Go ahead. We are back in open session, and I'd like to call for general public comment, Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler. I do not see them in the room. General public comment is now closed. We'll go to item number 5, please. Item number 5, and we have cards on this matter, members. So before we have our staff presentation, I'd like to ask Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler to speak, please.
Well, we're looking here at something that deals with the training of LAPD officers, and it has to do with mental health. As you all are aware, Ezell Ford's life was a great loss to the city of Los Angeles because it shows you the capacity. And Mitch Englander, who's sitting on his stupid cell phone, not paying attention,
It has nothing to do with the subject.
doesn't care about those
Mr.
people
Herman,
who
you'll
have
stay on the
mental
subject, you'll be
mental concerns in our community, and they're harassed and kick the hell out of their ass on our streets. I see it. I record it like I record you. And the bottom line is, this morning when I was downstairs in the other meeting, you're talking about taking away people's storage, people's homes that they built to live in a cardboard on a sidewalk or a street. That's not offensive? Then deny me the right of censorship by Kokorian, who calls us stupid little children.
Mental health training.
I am mental. That's why I'm calling you stupid.
I think
Ignorant fool.
you make a decent argument that anything dealing with mental health training, anything you say, might be relevant to that, but not in.
So my closing rebuttal is
you're
F
done.
it.
You're done. Mr. Spindler, please.
Oh, yes. Well, you continue to pour money into things. What type of mental health training are they going to get? Who's going to teach these courses? What certifications do they have? What record of success do they have in turning around a department that treats mental health with a shooting and an excuse that they, quote, grabbed at my belt? You watch these shootings by these people, and what happens is one officer goes over to the side, cocks the pistol, the other officer tackles the suspect to the ground, and what happens? They reach up because they're trying to keep themselves stabilized off the ground, and as soon as their hand goes up, the other officer says, gun, gun, boom! Now that's what you do. You try to justify the murder of unarmed suspects. And now you're finally saying that maybe you need to do mental health training. What you need to do is retrain your officers how not to kill unarmed suspects and give them the mental health training, the cops.
All right. Can we ask staff to come forward, please, on item number 5?
Good afternoon. My name is Captain Kelly Moldorfer. I'm the commanding officer, Detective Support and Vice Division, and I oversee the Mental Evaluation Unit. And we applied for the grant referred to in number 5.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of an overview of it, please?
Yes. The reason we applied for the grant is for mental health intervention training. We have a great deal of mental health training that we've provided to all of our officers over the years, but we felt that in 2014 it was an opportunity to revamp and update the CIT training, crisis intervention training, that we had given in the past. Once we put the course together, which is post-certified, we got it post-certified, then we were looking for federal grant funds to fund the training, to buy computers and supplies and pay for venues and stipends for some of our speakers. And we weren't able to identify any federal grant funds, so then we went through the private grant process with the LA Police Foundation. Just to give you a little background, the first time, it's a 36-hour post-certified course that is very interactive. With the instructors for this course include Los Angeles Police Department mental health workers, the Department of Mental Health clinicians and doctors, NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, it's an advocacy group, and then speakers from the Autism Society. And so far, since November 2014, when we presented this for the first time, we have trained 266 LAPD officers, an additional 37 individuals from outside agencies as far away as England, Australia, and from across the nation. So we have a total of 303 law enforcement personnel who we've trained so far. We've now, we were giving the course once a month. We have increased that in June. Last June, we increased it to 2 times a month, and we're on schedule to give this training course 2 times a month throughout 2016. The course is for first responders and law enforcement personnel who have a particular need. Say, for instance, all of the Safer Cities officers in Central Bureau have been trained. All of the Pacific Division, Beach Detail, and several other of the just Pacific Division officers have been trained. Hollywood officers have been a large majority of them have been trained. We're talking about first responders. And then the second, so that's one course a month is devoted to first responders from divisions throughout the city, throughout the department. The second course is going to be dedicated to a new police science leadership training course, which is a course that's being put on by Dr. Pinnell. And it's, and I don't want to go too in the weeds on her course, but just to give you a kind of an idea of what it's about, is after the police officers who graduate from the academy, they go out for a year and finish their probation. Upon the completion of their probation, or sometime shortly thereafter, they'll be brought back for a 2-week training course. The first week, they go over a variety of different things. The second week of the course will be the MHIT course. So we will have all of the officers coming out of the academy within, if they haven't gotten to the training within the first year, they will be provided with this training within the first year. So anyway, that's where we stand on the training right now.
Great. Questions? Mr. Bonnet?
Thank you. Thanks for the report. I know that during last year's budget process, this committee and then the council approved money for 4 more classes, so I'm glad to see that they're being used and all those additional officers are being trained. You said 266 officers have been trained so far?
Yes, LAPD officers.
Right. That's a very small percentage of the department.
It is. It is. However, this course can only can only take about 30. 30 would be the maximum number. It's such an intense course because there's a lot of hands-on situation simulation. It involves the FOSS training. We actually do site visits to a variety of different service providers in the city so that our officers know who to go to get services for the mentally ill. It's a very intense course, and we cannot accommodate more than about 25 to 30 officers at a time. So recognizing that, number one, we increased it to twice a month. The second thing is we're really focused on getting the first responders, the officers who are working patrol, who are responding to the calls involving people who are mentally ill. We're really not taking, say, detective personnel unless there's a specific need, or we're not taking specialized units unless there's a specific need until we get the majority. What we'd like to have is a large percentage of the patrol officers in each division have this training under their belt before we branch out to the rest of the department. Not that it's not valuable to them, but we're looking at how to manage our resources.
So what's holding us back from hitting that target? Is it money? Is it there's just not enough instructors? Is it?
No, it's actually, it's the course presentation. It's because of the way that the course was put together, the learning model, to increase the number of students would diminish the delivery and our ability to really work through the scenarios and do the site visits. We cannot run 50 people through these different sites because these are open businesses. We don't, there's a lot of things that play into.
I understand that, but we could offer more classes, right? If we offered the classes more frequently, if we offered them twice a week.
again, we are limited because it's not just an LAPD presentation. We have for a small stipend, we have people from NAMI, the Autism Society, and Department of Mental Health, so they would have to agree to devote their resources that many more times per month, which is another issue. So if it was just LAPD, that would be different, but it isn't. It's a collaborative with a variety of all those people.
And have we asked those other organizations how much more they could do?
We did, and they said twice a month for the foreseeable future. That's not to say that that couldn't change. I mean, we're obviously looking at ways to do that as we move forward. But the increasing it to 2 times a month was our request to them, is how much more could we do this.
And this is, you get trained once and then that's it?
Well, that's it for that training. There's always ongoing mental health training through post, video courses, and we do a lot of roll call training, and we put together a variety of different types of trainings for different divisions. Like right now, we did crisis communication for the public trust training that the entire department went just recently, or is currently going through. There's an hour block that talks about crisis communication and the mental health piece. So we do a variety of other types of training. So it's not like they'll be trained with MHIT and then never be exposed to mental health training again.
Right. I mean, I'd really like to see us do whatever we can to expand this. I immensely appreciate the areas where the department has focused so far, Skid Row and Venice and Hollywood, because those are areas where there's high concentrations of homeless people, and there's large percentages, in my district at least 50%, according to the census, who suffer from mental illness, so that makes sense. But there's all sorts of types of mental illness. There's all sorts of folks that LAPD encounters during the course of a patrol who suffer from mental illness, and we'd benefit from much more training. I'm wondering if you could report back with a little bit more detail at a future time on what the different challenges are to expanding, whether it's the Autism Association doesn't have the bandwidth to do more a month, whether or not the department lacks funding to do more a month, all the different things, so we can try to see which ones of those we could, roadblocks we could remove.
Okay, and you know what, I truly do believe that if we were able to get over the challenge of having the other agencies be able to come forward more often, I mean, obviously, that's going to increase the amount of funding that we would need, but that's probably the lesser challenge.
We have a sense of what each of those agencies is and what their hurdle is. Like, if one of them is a county agency, we might be able to talk to the supervisors and see if we can get them to step up a little bit more or something.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Kretz?
Yeah, well, the training seems like a good idea. Obviously, the frequency, we all have a little bit of problem with, I have to assume, because at this pace, it would take you 30 years to train the officers in the department. And obviously, when you had accomplished that in 30 years, you'd have had so much turnover that you'll never get to the point where most of the officers have been trained. So I certainly agree with my colleague. We need to find some way to increase this so it actually gets to enough officers to make a really significant difference. Now, in your answer to my colleague, you gave a partial answer to what I was going to ask, which is, could you walk us through exactly what this training deals with?
Yes, I could. Not from memory. I'll have to pull my notes, but... But just to your point about the training, I wouldn't want to leave any of you with the idea that this is the only training that LAPD officers have ever had or will get. We did provide over the years crisis intervention training, which is very similar to this course. It was a 40-hour course. And we've got probably, I'm going to say in the range of 3,000 officers who went through that course over the course of years. There's a 2-hour mental health intervention training that everyone on the department has gone through from post. There are, we trained all of South Bureau, a 4-hour training on mental health intervention for the entire South Bureau. So, I mean, I don't want to leave you with the impression that this is the only mental health training that LAPD officers have received. They've received in the academy and over the years since then. But anyway, to your question, some of the things that we go over are, we give a mental health overview, then we go into the juvenile mental health issues and concerns. The Autism Society talks to the officer or the students about autism and some of those challenges and how to recognize that. Some legal aspects of dealing with the mentally ill, mental health law and firearms and what that law entails. We do crisis communication. They talk about schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, mood disorders, cognitive disorders, and then we do the field operation simulator, which is the shoot, don't shoot scenarios, and there are a variety of scenarios all involving people with mental health. Suicide by cop, we talk about handcuffing and the contacts with mentally ill. Psychopharmacology, substance abuse co-occurring with a variety of different mental disorders. And then we do site visits to the Exodus Easy Urgent Care, Northeast Mental Health Clinic, and the Mental Health Court in Department 95. They do report completion, which tells them how to complete the application for a 72-hour mental health hold, commonly referred to as a 5150. And then they do scenario-based skill training, which is they're given scenarios. We have actors who come in, and then they have to work through the scenarios based and utilizing the skills that they've learned over the first 2 days. Then we give them a tour of the mental evaluation unit so that they know what their department resource is and what it looks like. We have a panel discussion, and then NAMI talks about the community resources that are available to officers when they are dealing with someone who suffers from mental illness. That's kind of a brief overview of some of the topics.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
No real questions. I mean, obviously, I agree with my colleagues. It's critically important and want to do as much as training as we can allow. And you're talking about the funding. Did you guys go after Prop 63? I always think of that as this giant mental health pot of money. In fact, on the state level, they were having problems because they couldn't supplant the mental health services that they have, and they were doing all sorts of creative new, for better and for worse, mental health types of things. Seems like this would be a perfect program for some Prop 63 money. Is that available or what? It was my understanding that was not available to law enforcement, but maybe to the Department of Mental Health. And I believe Department of Mental Health had something. They may have gotten some of that funding. I mean, obviously you guys know where to look under which rocks for money, but I would just urge you to think about if you're not eligible as a police department, partnering with folks who are eligible, because that's the hugest chunk of mental health money that's been out for a long time, and I think they're having trouble spending it all.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
We got the public safety already.
I think you've addressed my questions. I share everyone's urgency about this because it sounds like a terrific step forward, and having 2 classes instead of 1 a month would certainly be helpful, and I appreciate the additional information about academy training and other kinds of training, but this is really important work, so thank you for taking the lead on it. And if there's anything that we can do in this committee to help you locate additional sources of funding, I hope you'll share that with us, because I think all of us are very interested in making sure we make this program a success. So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Is there any need for committee action on this, or are we just noting and filing it? Noted. Okay, that'll be the action of the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us then to what would have been our consent items, although Mr. Blumenfield, you had a couple of questions on, did you say 7?
Yeah, quick one on 7, both very quick, I think, but if we're...
Let's call item number 7 first, and as staff is working there, well, do we have staff on it, Matt?
I think EMD may have left. Are they back?
I don't want to.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler, and you each have 3 minutes left on items 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So take Mr. Spindler, you're here. Come on up.
Oh, boy. So much time. I just don't know how I'm going to use it all. So I'm given a minute on which item?
Whichever you'd like, sir, 4, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Just
Well, the clock's showing I get 1 minute. It's showing 1 minute on the clock.
Did you want your
Let's
minutes
go
minute
ahead.
by minute, or do you want all 3 minutes?
Well, they're just trying to what? They're trying to herd me in like a goat.
let's go ahead and put 3 minutes on. You can speak to all 5 of the matters if you'd like.
All right, so just put them all 3 together, huh?
All 5. Yeah, 3 minutes. Go.
Okay, so that's the new style now to violate the Brown Act. They take all the items.
On the agenda. Speak to
So now you have to
that is, but it's not on the
Motion number 6.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, he keeps disrupting this meeting.
I'm not.
And this is not on the
I'm
agenda. This is-
speaking,
I believe this is about the 6th warning you've given so far.
but I'm talking.
Trying to get through
Yeah.
the matters
He-
before the public.
I can talk
Yeah, he can speak to the matter. But stay on the topic.
relative to the appropriation of $100,000 in funding for the general city purposes to fund the Recreation and Parks Fund for the Armenian Genocide Memorial Trees Project. When you go to Europe and you see that a member of the Turkish parliament got off the plane in Switzerland and was on trial
With the subject, sir.
for, if you listen, because you're such a fool, the Armenian genocide by the European Court of Justice was proven not to be provable. So there was not a genocide against the Armenian people in the 1900s because a member of the Turkish parliament arrested himself and subjected himself to a full trial by the full European Commission on Human Rights and was found innocent for declining the existence of the Armenian genocide. So therefore, you are planting trees that is in direct violation of a ruling by the 19-nation European Commission on Human Rights. But because you're such a fool, you're going to plant the trees anyway while we're in a drought. And when you're in a drought, you don't have any water to plant the trees, fool. So now we get to the rest of the items, which don't mean anything because nothing here means a goddamn thing because you don't have any real discussion about all the money that gets siphoned away and stolen from the taxpayers of the city and given to campaign donors. And that's all this is. So, like he said, get the money under a rock. So what you should do is take a large bag, one of those big bags like you do with the homeless people when you take all their
Not
stuff.
speaking to any item on the agenda right now.
That's what it is. And you should just put a pile of cash in and have the fire department and all the departments come here at the meeting
Nothing to do
and
with
just
it.
go in there and grab the money they want.
Okay, you're done.
They should grab the money they want, and then
Spindler,
we
you're
could
done.
talk on each of the items of what? I had a lousy 3 fucking minutes, and I had, what, 20 seconds
You
left?
chose not to speak.
And I did.
You're done. You're done.
You're violating the Brown Act.
Stay at the microphone. You'll be asked to leave. Herman, please. You have 3 minutes left.
Oh, shit. Genocide. Talking about Paul Krikorian's motion here for $100,000 for the city's proposal to fund tree projects. But the definition of a genocide says to deliberate and systematic extermination of a national, racial, political, or cultural group. such racism in Los Angeles when it comes to the Armenian genocide. Because when Herman was praising those Turks for fighting the Armenians, it wasn't because he was a racist, because Herman was going by the law. And the law back then said, you fight, conquer, and destroy those who oppose our political will. And so the action of Krikorian, other name as the Goatman Krikorian, is that he's proposing the adoption of $100,000. Little goat, you have to explain it like this for all the hundreds of thousands of children that listen in. And we're spending $100,000 funding from the general city fund for recreation and parks when it should go to us children, not to the Englander. Vote no, Englander.
You're off the topic, Mr.
Well, he's disrupting me. I'm trying to talk about the recreation and parks, and he starts laughing, that little ass, for the Armenian Genocide Memorial Tree Project. See, we kids love to water trees. We urinate on them, we pour our sodas on them, and we sometimes hang out on them. The same way people who plant trees don't understand that remembering a group of individuals who were slaughtered, which is okay because God destroys bad people the way Herman destroys political speech, rubs it in and out. Just like when you funnel a piece of paper in your hand like this and you go,
This is not a
genocide.
topic that
I'm
relates
talking
to
about
any
the genocide. It's a
speech.
it's a horn. It's a horn.
I don't care to hear
And when they're
horn.
fighting in wars, they blow a horn, and in the horn they go da 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 da.
Last warning.
We're gonna
Speak
beat
to the
the
topic
hell
or you're
out
done.
of trees for these projects. Save our parks. Save our parks and all recreation for us kids, because we like to play on trees, and we gotta remember we're in a drought. Say no to this motion by Paul Krikorian, who's a budget man and robs the coffers of the city
All right.
budget.
Thank you. Item number 7, please. Mr. Blumenfield, do we have staff on item number 7? Yes, come on up. Mr. Blumenfield?
Yeah, just a very quick, small question. On the DMD Valley outreach, I see a couple of items that don't appear in the Valley, like there's listed under Valley Outreach as 52nd Street Elementary School and Protect Your Workshop at USC Expo Center. I'm trying to just square with how those things are Valley, and I'm sure there's a good reason or it's a typo or something, but just figured I'd check in.
Yes, good afternoon. Anna Burton with the city's Emergency Management Department. I think the spreadsheets we're looking at were actual events that occurred previously. We were reporting quarterly on all the outreach that our staff were able to participate in or provide information for or support in any way. So I don't have the specifics on those particular events. The department has 4 emergency management coordinators who are assigned to the 4 disaster management bureaus, which align with LAPD and the fire department bureaus, and they try and make direct liaisons and contacts with both the sworn and non-sworn political offices, strategic partners in those different areas to establish relationships so that we can support various outreach and community preparedness events. I can report back specifically on those, sir, if you wish.
Really great. Yeah, no, and it's all great. The outreach is great. You guys are doing good stuff. Maybe if you could just check back on how some of these things that are not geographically in the Valley are in the Valley outreach section, and maybe they should be put in the other sections. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on any of the other matters?
The other one was 9, right? I had one question on 9 if we have.
You have anybody who can speak to item 9?
And if not, I'm not.
We do. We do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Lopez with the CAO's office.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to check in. So the previous fund, before it became the Innovation Fund,
Yes.
Which goes to my committee, it was called the
Productivity Incentive
Yeah.
Revolving. Yes.
So the money that was in the Productivity Fund, did that get folded into the innovation fund and is now able to be used for innovation purposes, or is there still money in the productivity fund that needs to be used for productivity?
I believe the productivity funds were already swept. They went into the UB a few years ago, but I can check with Jody from our
Yeah.
office.
Jody Oxheimer with the CAO. The funds were rolled into the Innovation Fund. So it was maybe $100,000 left in the Productivity Incentive Revolving Fund, and that became part of the Innovation Fund.
Was that added to the $1.5 million that we put in, or did it make up part of the $1.5 million?
It was added to the million that was added in 14-15, and then the additional $900,000 that was added in 15-16. Did I say that right? 14-15 and 15-16.
Okay, so it didn't make it up, it was just additional. Okay, and then, so what do we have left in that account now?
It's a little hard to tell because there are funds that were appropriated at the very end of last year that are in the process of being reappropriated. In addition, I believe there are 4 more items that we have asked to have scheduled before the Trade, Commerce, and Technology Committee next week. So we'll have a total of 15 projects that will have been approved by council, assuming council approves the additional 4. And the total, I want to say, is a little over $1 million, but I would have to double check and let you know.
Okay, great. But the rules are all the same regardless of where the funding source came from. That's
Correct.
all I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, members, on item number 4, the recommendation is to approve the contracts. Item number 6, the recommendation is to approve the item. Items number 7 and 8, the recommendation is to concur in the Public Safety Committee's recommendations to receive and file the item, and on item number 9, to note and file the report. Is there any objection to those recommendations?
None whatsoever.
All right, seeing none, without objection, that will be the action of the committee. Is there any other action before the committee?
No.
All right, we are adjourned.